On problem 5, we're told the figure shows a map of part of a city consisting of two pairs of parallel roads. If the coordinate grid is applied to the map, Ford Street would have a slope of -3. So I'm going to write on here m for slope equals -3. Remember, -3 is rise over run. The intersection of B Street and 4th Street, this intersection right here, is 150 yards east of the intersection of Ford Street and Clover Street. So if we take a look here, let me make this bigger. We know this length is 150 yards. Made that kind of thick there. I want to know how many yards south it is. Well, we're going to do a proportion here, or a ratio. We know the slope is 3/1 for part A. I'm putting all my work down here. Well, if I ignore the signs, because I don't really care about the signs for distance, I know the run is 150 yards, and I want to find the rise. I want to find the x. Maybe that's a bad notation. Let's use y, because that makes more sense. Well, it looks like I just multiplied by 150. So 3 times 150 would be 450 yards. And that's part A. Now, in part B, we want to know what is the slope of 6th Street. Well, since 6th Street is parallel to 4th Street, its slope is also -3. So now if we'll take a look at, so letter B, it's -3 because they are parallel. Oh, I guess there's two questions here. Clover Street and B Street. So B Street is -3. Clover Street would be the opposite reciprocal because it's perpendicular. Well, the opposite reciprocal of -3, so first off, let me write that down for part C. Oh, I guess I labeled this wrong. The slope of 6th Street is -3. I did answer that question. Now we're on to a different question. There we go. So now we want to find the slopes of Clover Street. Well, Clover Street is perpendicular. So if I take -3, I can write that as a fraction as -3/1. So I'm going to take the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite reciprocal would be 1/3. Now, and then what is the slope of B Street? Well, B Street is parallel to Clover Street, so that's going to be 1/3. So both answers are going to be 1/3 because they're perpendicular. And then finally, letter D, it says the intersection of B Street and 6th Street, let's find that, B Street and 6th Street is 600 yards east of the intersection of B Street and 4th Street. So in other words, we know it's 600 yards to the east. And I want to know how many yards north it is. Well, we kind of do the same thing. Now we know our slope is 1/3, don't we? So for letter D, our slope is 1/3. We know the run is 600. So what would be the rise? 3 times what gives us 600? Well, 3 times 200 gives us 600. So this would be 200 because you have to take 1 times that same thing. So it would be 200 yards. And there's your answer for part D.